Ah, et les Kakanango, le grand ninja.
Hi guys, I'm back today. So you would know that last week I did say that I was gonna do the video about Papa Rumba. I know I said it, I think I said it at least twice, but I'm actually gonna do that video later on, and today we're gonna talk about another artist because it did make sense naturally to talk about his story simply because he is one of the most beautiful voices of African music, and his legacy is absolutely tremendous. It's an artist that I'm really moved to share the story of because many people know him. They know him because we know his voice, but people don't always know his name. They don't always know who's the face behind that voice. And for me, it's very important to put his place back into the context of what he's done and share how much we owe him so much in terms of understanding of Congolese Rumba, instead of musical style and that way of interpreting music with that very specific type of voice. And it's someone that I really love because I've been listening to him since I was born almost, because he is the voice of so many successes of Congolese Rumba and African music generally speaking, and that artist has really the most beautiful voices for me in terms of artist of the first generation of big musician for Congolese Rumba. And I'm really moved and very happy to share his story because his legacy is incredibly huge. And even if we're going to see that in a second, he owed a lot to Franco, he's done a lot as well, and many artists owe him as well. So for me, it's very important today to share with you the name and the story of Le Grand Ninja, Madilu System, Africa.
Jomongali Olingana linga kiosele. Jean de Dieu
Bialouma-Kiese, as his real name, but known obviously as Madilu System, was born on the 28th of May 1950, so 10 years before the independence of Congo, and he was born in the city of Kisantu. And that town is located in what we call Bakongo, which is the southern part of Congo. So he was born there with his parents, obviously. But when he was 3 years old, him and his parents and his little sister called Elise are actually going to leave Kisantu, and they're going to go to the capital city. At the time, it was still called Leopoldville because it wasn't the independence just yet. So they're going to leave Kisantu, and they're actually going to go all the way to Kinshasa. And when they're going to arrive in the capital city, obviously Madilu System is going to grow up. He's going to grow up, and there is something that's going to happen very naturally. He's going to surround himself around music. He's going to create this musical environment around him. So he's obviously going to be going to church with his family, and he's going to be part of the choral as well. And there's another thing that his mom is actually explaining with lots of emotion. She actually says that when he was a kid, he was cooking a lot. He was cooking with her, he was helping her in the kitchen, and he was already singing. From the very young age, he really enjoyed just being in the kitchen with his mom, helping her out doing the dishes or cooking, and he would be singing. That's one of the things that he would be doing. And his mom also explains that Madilu was someone very generous, and he was a very kind soul, basically. She expressed that he was very gentle, very nice with people as well. And there's a little story that she explains, and she actually says that when he was young, around like 8 years old, because he liked cooking, he would cook lots of food. For him, he's actually cooking fufu, for those who know. He was cooking that for him with like a little soup to go with it, and he would cook that for him and his friends, and he would actually go to school and tell all his friends to come home with him after school to eat all together, because he really liked to be first sharing with people, but also he was someone who really enjoyed having people with him and just surround himself with people and enjoying good moment with them. So it's one of the things that his mum is actually talking about with lots of emotions, and she's just explaining how much of a nice person and a nice soul her son has been. So Madilu is going to grow up surrounding obviously with his friends, going out with them a lot, cooking for them, having them coming to eat fufu at home. Again, surrounded by music obviously, because that was something that he really had a strong interest in. But you have to know that Madilu, when him and his family moved to Kinshasa, they moved to a specific neighborhood in Kinshasa called Bandalungwa. And when he was there, he stayed there until the end of primary school. But you have to know that in lots of French African speaking countries, you have to do sort of like sort of an exam before you actually go to year 7. I know that when my dad was still in Central Africa, he had to do that, and he's done it. So that's what's going to happen to him. But because his dad is sort of going to sense that his son started to have a very, very strong interest for music, he's actually going to tell him that he's not going to stay in Bandel with all his friends. He's going to go to another school. And that school was in another location. It was in Ngiringi. So that's what he's going to do. Madilu is going to go to another school in Ngiringi, and he's going to pass this year 7 sort of exam that you have to do before actually going to year 7. So he's going to pass it. He's going to be brilliant in passing that exam. But in his dad mind, again, there was this too much of an interest for music and less of a focus on studying. So in his dad's mind, that was the strategy, moving him with all his friends from Bandal, all of that, and going to the other school. But you're going to see that even if his dad is going to try to push him aside from music, it's not exactly going to happen that way. So after passing this exam to go to year 7, Madilu's dad is actually going to realize that his son is still too stubborn and doesn't want to study. His son is still really focused on music. He still has this curiosity, this passion for music. And it doesn't matter where school he's going to, for him, the main interest was music. That's what he was interested in. That was what he wanted to put all his attention to. So his dad thought, right, I've put you to this school in Bengal, it didn't work. I've put you to that school in Ngiringi as well. And now I'm going to put you to a different school. But this time, the school is going to be a Catholic school. And at the time, Catholic schools were very, very strict in Africa. Not just in Africa, but that one specifically was very strict. So he thought, right, I'm going to put this child in that Catholic school and he won't have an option but studying. That's what his plan was. He thought, if I'm putting this child over there, he's going to have to work because there's nothing else he's going to be able to do. So he's going to send his son to another Catholic school with missionary brotherhood, thinking that this time it was going to make a difference. But again, it didn't mean that being in a different geographical location was going to prevent Madilu from sneaking out and going away from the school, because that's exactly what he's going to be doing. He was in the school, obviously, in Kisantu, that was the location, but he's still going to be very stubborn and sneak out of school a couple of times. And once he actually went a little bit too far because he sneaked out of school for an entire week. So the people who were looking after them, the staff there, rang his dad and told him, your son sneaked out again. But they were really worried, but they managed to find him. When they found him, obviously they've sent him back to the school, but they've called his dad and they've told him, you need to come and pick up your son because we can't just keep on trying with him. That child doesn't want to be there. We're not going to force him. We're not going to run after him whenever he's sneaking out of the school as well. So his dad went to the school in Kisantu and he actually had to beg them. He knew a couple of people in the school, so he really tried, and he really tried to negotiate. He really begged them and asked, can you please keep my son, because I want him to study, I want him to do good, and he's really going to try to negotiate very hard, and it's going to work. So they're going to keep him. So 2 years after this, his dad thought, right, I've sent him to that Brotherhood missionary school, it's not working. Right, so now I'm going to send him a little bit further away. It was 2 years after, so I think it was the equivalent of year 9, when he was about to go from year 9 to year 10. His son for the UK, sorry, that's year 10 in the UK, he was going to send him away even further, again thinking geographically, the further I'm going to put this child, maybe it's going to work a little bit more. So he sent his son all the way to Kimvula, thinking that might work this time. But unfortunately, sending his son over there is not going to make any difference at all whatsoever. And it is when he sent his son over there in Kimvula that he's going to understand that not only that his son doesn't want to study, but what his son really wants to do is music. And it doesn't matter where you're going to put him geographically. You can send him all the way to Cameroon, to Gabon, to Ivory Coast, no idea, to Nigeria. It's not going to make any difference because his son wanted to do music. That was his purpose, and it didn't matter wherever his dad was going to put him. What he was focusing on was music.
Sangi pumba na yende ko sengayo soki mweza litoka bwana mabele ki motema mo bebie na pesa yo liberte osakana na boy misonanga etala eloko yeko bunga lobi o mama.
So his son is obviously going to finish his studies. Obviously he didn't want to study very much, but he still finished school. He finished his secondary school, and at the end of these couple of years of studying, it wasn't his dad that was going after him and telling him, you need to work, you need to work, you need to work. That was his mum. His mum started to ask him the question, right now that you finished secondary school, you need to work. And at the time, I'm not exactly sure about the actual word for it, but Mobutu, who was at the time in power, created something for the youth to work, and it was called les colliers blancs, les cols blancs. I'm not even sure how to say it in English, so I'm not going to try to say it. But he had, and if someone knows, please say it on the comment sections. But he's actually going to create that sort of program for youth. And his mum is going to tell him, you need to do it. You need to do it because you finish your studies. I don't want you to just stay here and just hang around doing your music. And the answer that Madilu is going to give her is very interesting. He's going to give her 2 reasons why he's not going to do it. He's going to say, not for me. Reason number 1 being that if he does that type of job, people are going to know that he's from a quite humble background and that his family doesn't have much money. So that was the first reason why he said, I'm not going to do it because I don't want people to think that I'm from a humble background, basically. The second reason, and I think that there's a beautiful symbolic around this, his name is Jean de Dieu. Jean de Dieu, Dieu means God in French. So Jean de Dieu means sort of John from God. John from God. So he's going to tell his mom, I'm talented. I've got talent. I'm a good singer and I'm a good musician. But the talent that I've got is not something that is out of the blue that everyone could have. My talent is a God-given talent. It comes from God directly. It comes from God, so I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to waste it. So my focus, now that I've done these years of studying, secondary school, whatever you wanted me to do, now I'm going to focus on working with more musicians. I'm going to focus on trying to connect with people, having my own network to become an actual musician, an actual singer, because I know that this is a God-given gift and I don't want to spoil it. So that's the answer he's going to give to his mom, and he's going to refuse to do it. He's not going to do it. And at the end of the day, his mom was still extremely proud of him. Even if he didn't do his studies, even if he sneaked out of school and he was very stubborn, she says that she's very proud of him and that this talent that he had for music from the very young age is something that from the bottom of her heart, she's extremely proud of. By this time, Madilu System managed to have his mom on his side, so his mom eventually said, yes, go ahead, go on, you can just do your music, whatever you think is right for you. But remember, he still didn't have his dad on his side. His dad was still not convinced. And I purposely didn't tell you what his dad was doing as a profession. His dad was actually a musician. He wasn't unknown to the world of music. So to give you a little bit more context around this, I still need to do I know that I still haven't done it, the English version of my documentary, but because I haven't done it yet, I'm going to give you a little bit of context around what was going on basically at the time of his dad in terms of music. So in the early 40s in Africa, and in the western part of Africa, in Senegal mainly, you had lots of military base there. That was both American base and Cuban ones. And when the military officers arrived, they've naturally brought with them music. They've brought jazz from America, and they've brought rumba, Cuban rumba. And when they've done that music that was in the radio in the western part of Africa is going to spread all around the continent, and especially in the region of Central Africa. And at the time, you have to know that music was allowed, but the music that was allowed was European influenced music. It was illegal to have music in Lingala, in Kikongo, in Songo, in whatever languages. It was illegal. So in 1943, because musicians started to hear that music with jazz, with Cuban rumba, they sort of started to have this interest for that. So what happened is that in Congo, Kinshasa, they've created Radio Léopoldville, and in Congo, Brazzaville, they're going to create Radio Brazzaville. And when these two radio stations are going to be created, one man is going to create the first, it wasn't Congolese Rumba as such, but he's going to create the very first song that resembled a connection between jazz, Cuban Rumba, and Africa because of the language, because he's going to be singing in Lingala. And when he's going to be singing, that song is going to be an absolute success all over the region. And that man is called Wendo Kolosoi, and the song that he's going to do is called Marie-Louise. So with that first success, it's going to start to have the curiosity of many different musicians, many different artists, and there's actually going to be a man who's going to create a record label called Ngoma. That man is called Nicolas Geronimidis. He's from Greece, and he's going to create that new label company, and lots of musicians are going to start to work with him, including Henri Bowané and another artist called Duwayon. And that artist is an artist that has been working very closely with Madilu's dad. Madilu and Madilu's dad, sorry, and the music scene was nicknamed De Pandu. And De Pandu is going to work very closely with Duwayon. And when Duwayon is actually going to hear Madilu singing, because he was hanging out with his dad because that was his friend, he's going to hear Madilu singing. And when he's going to hear the child singing, young teenager, he's going to tell the Pandu to let his son do music. Not only because he's got talent, but what he's heard is a blessing. The talent that his son has is an actual blessing. So he should let his son actually do music. And it is only when his dad is going to hear his friend Duwayon saying, let him do music, that his dad is just going to let go and eventually let his son become the musician that he wants to be. So with his dad blessing and his mum's blessing, Madilu System is going to start to try and create his own music network, trying to find different musicians he could work with to grow his talent. So we are now in the early 70s, and Madilu is going to start to try and reach out to different musicians, try to sort of create his own musical network, basically, and he's going to meet a first artist, a musician, a guitar player who is still alive. He is now 83 years old. So for those who don't know this man, I would really encourage you and go and have a look at his YouTube channel. This man is called Papa Noel. And this artist is a guitar player. And Madilu is going to join his first band. That band was called Bambula. He's going to join that band. And a couple of years after this, Papa Noel is going to create another group, another band that is called Bakumba Mayopi. And when he's going to go in that band again, he's going to learn a lot. He's going to be with other musicians as well. So he's going to be connecting, making his network grow as well. And at some point, he's going to leave that band. But despite of all the good experiences that he's going to have, he's going to create his own band that he's going to call Pamba Pamba. And when he's going to create that band, it's just going to be for a couple of months, because in 1975, he's going to meet another musician, another artist, and the artist is the man that I've talked about 3 weeks ago. That man is the first African man who went to the very prestigious venue of Olympia for a performance. That man is called, for those who watched the video 3 weeks ago, you would have guessed, Tabule Rojo.
Itakwetondi nzoto mahaze namona moto nini na mekana yote motema na ngai ekangami motambo na yo bapekisa batikala na nsoni yo.
So even if he's going to work with Aurora between 1975 and 1980, not much is going to happen in terms of music. He was still between Congo and Belgium, and he was trying to reach out to different musicians to sort of create that musical network that he really needed. But he's not going to find the musician where he could collaborate with them in a long-lasting way, basically. And so for 5 years, not much is going to happen. But in 1980, he's going to meet someone who really going to create a shift in his musical career.
Oh Mario, Luka ta mwasi yo moko bala. Mario mosalo be kolinga ba mama mobokoli. Basuka yo te. Ah.
Lelo makambo lobi makambo na lembi lelo bitumba lobi kosona na baye na boyi ko bebi sanzoto na mataka na lembi Mario na lembi.
So Madilu was obviously between Belgium and Congo, and he's actually going to meet an artist in Belgium. He's going to meet a man who is one of the most important and most influential artists of the Congolese music scene at this time anyway. It's a man who created a band that was extremely popular, and that band is called Les Grands Maquisards. This man is called Ntesa Dalienst.
Jaria, demba mwana poto mama lingio mingi Bernadette. Nasengio mayakana na mama bango bako benisa amor na biso.
When he's going to create that band, he's going to have lots of success. So his influence in the Congolese music scene is going to be very settled, and he's going to be very respected by people. And that man worked quite closely with Franco Luambo Makiadi that I've done the video of just a few weeks ago. So if you haven't watched it, I leave it there for you. But Ntesa Dalienst will actually work with Franco Luambo Makiadi and obviously le tout-puissant OK Jazz. And when he's going to work with them, it is thanks to that influence, because he was the creator of Les Grands Maquisards, that when he's going to introduce Madilu to the band, and most importantly to Franco Luambo Makiadi, because he witnessed the talent of Madilu. It is thanks to him that Madilu is going to be able to join the band. It's thanks to him, thanks to his influence. But you have to know that for those who haven't watched the video that I've done about Franco, Franco was the co-founder. He wasn't the only person who created the band Tout-Puissant Jazz, but because of his leadership, he took the lead and he became the sort of the center of the band, and all the different musicians of the band were gravitating over him, around him, and his influence was very much the way how the musicians' career were created, and how some musicians just boomed and became extremely successful thanks to him. For example, like in Mangwana, he became very famous thanks to Franco Luambo Makiadi and Aurora. But when he worked with Franco, his career really boomed because of all of that. So many different musicians are going to have the same story. Their career is going to grow and evolve, and they're going to become successful and famous thanks to Franco and the Tout-Puissant OK Jazz Band. But this being said, the fact that there were so many musicians is also going to make that it's not going to be easy to be close to Franco, there was certain layers you had to go through before you could actually get any closer to Franco, and that's exactly what's going to happen for Madilu System, because you also have to know that at first Franco really didn't like Madilu System at all.
nasimisi yo motema mama oyoka otala ndenge ezali kobeta bolingo eleki ngai nzoto ngai yo otikanga te noki te nakoki na kofa yanga na yo mama nayebi te nini ekoki ngokokabola biso.
The very first song that Madilu and Franco are going to be doing together is called Non. But you have to know that originally that song was absolutely not meant to be for Madilu. Remember, Franco had lots of no sense of care, and he didn't care at all about Madilu. There was just no interest whatsoever, a little bit of distance. He just didn't care about him, and he was actually being a little bit presumptuous. For him, it was just a little boy that was hanging around that one of his friends put in the band, but for him, Madilu didn't have much talent and he didn't know why basically this man was there. But because his friend Ntesa asked, there he was. For him, that's how it was in his mind. And remember that he thought that Madilu wasn't such a very good singer. But when he actually gonna create that song, he's gonna create this song for another musician called Josky Kiambalaka. And when he's gonna create this song, he's gonna create this song because Josky had the very beautiful capacity of going very high pitch and also going very low with his voice. He was a very good singer. It's someone who's going to work with Tout Puissant Jazz from 1973 to 1980, and he's also going to work very closely with the genius guitar player
Dr Nico.
And he's also someone who's going to participate to the first album of Koffi Olomide, The Grand Mopao.
Le Grand Mondain R.O. Nathalie Bumba, zéro faute. Kaya Kaya Musha.
And he's actually going to be doing a very beautiful song with Madilu afterwards, and that song is called Sincérité. But originally, when Franco created that song, he didn't create this song at all for Madilu. He created that song for Josky. Originally, the song that Franco has been writing was for Josky. He's been writing that song for him. But for those who haven't watched the video about Franco just yet, because I know that you guys are going to go and watch it just after this one, when Franco was writing songs, he could write songs, but he could write about very bad subjects and very controversial subjects, which led him to be in real troubles, and he actually went to prison because of this. Him and Simaro Lutumba, who was the vice president of the band, they both went to prison. And unfortunately for Josky, what happened is that once he's been singing a song that was written by Franco that is called Helen and Jackie, and when he wrote that song, I don't know exactly the actual meaning of the song, I don't know what it is about, but obviously the legal authorities didn't like it, and he ended up in prison as well. So since that specific moment, he got traumatized and he said never again. So now he was being extremely mindful of the type of song that he was singing. And Franco wrote the song called Non, and the subject of that song was talking about women that he considered as ugly and saying that these women were evil, which is extremely mean, and which is the reason why Josky thought, right, I'm not getting in any of this, I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm not going to do it. So Franco had to look for someone else who would be willing to sing that song. There was a couple of artists, obviously. There was Mangwana, there was Ntesa Dalienst, but there wasn't that many artists that he could count on, and it is exactly at this moment that he's gonna meet Madilu System.
Libala, oh libala, eh. Libala, oh libala, oh, oh, yo, yo. Mabala toko barakana kisasa, eh, eh.
Remember, Madilu was between Belgium and Congo, and at this specific time he was in Belgium and he was actually sharing an apartment with Ntesa. But you have to keep in mind that at this time he was actually thinking about leaving the Tout-Puissant Jazz Band even before having any sort of success, because he didn't have any opportunities and he felt like it was sort of a waste of time. So he was actually thinking about going to Switzerland, and he was in this flat with Ntesa, and he was actually going downstairs. He was just about to go downstairs and he bumped into Franco, who was there as well. He was in Belgium and he was about to go and see Ntesa. He bumped into him on the lift, and Franco is going to tell him, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" And Madilu got scared, so he lied and he said, "Oh no, I'm just about to go and get some food. I'm really hungry. I'm just going to buy some bread." That wasn't even true, but that's what he's going to say. And Franco was quite in a good mood, so he's going to tell him, "What are you doing? You don't need to go buying any bread or whatever. There is lamb and like a very specific African dish that we eat in the region of Central Africa, which is called kwanga, shikwang. I'm gonna put a picture because I don't know how to say it in English, but he's gonna say, "There's this upstairs. Let's go and eat our lamb and shikwang upstairs." And when they're gonna go upstairs, Franco is going to notice that there is a guitar, that there's some like machine to do some music recording as well. And he actually going to be a bit curious about Madilu, much more than what he used to be anyway. And he's going to ask him to try and sing the song Non, that was originally meant for Josky. And Madilu obviously is going to say yes, no problem. And when Franco is going to hear the voice of Madilu, he's going to say, "Oh, you can sing like that, you." He was really surprised, and he was that good that Franco is going to tell him, "Right, we're going to do the recording." And Franco is that proud of the results that he sent that to his wife. And when his wife heard the voice of Madilu, at first, she thought it was Tabule Rousseau's voice, and Franco is going to say, no, that wasn't Tabule, it was Madilu. And his wife is going to make fun of Franco, and she's going to say, "So you, after criticizing this young boy, saying he doesn't even know how to sing, I don't even know what he's doing in my band, now you're recording music with him." And Franco is going to admit that yes, this boy has talent, there is potential. And from this moment on, with the first success of the song called Non, Madilu and Franco are going to work extremely closely together till the end.
Okolinga mwasi azali na bato, zokolingaki ye mokolo liboso omonaki ye ayebaka te oh mama
That song is going to be the very first big success of Madilu with Franco, and he actually explains that it's also one of the most important and beautiful memory that he has in all the years of working with Franco that he's going to have, and all the beautiful song that they're going to be doing afterwards. This specific moment and going on the studio with Franco was one of the most important moment and impressive moment as well, because Franco was someone who had lots of influence, lots of talent as well, but who was also physically quite impressive And he was worried, he was scared when he went on studio with him. But he's saying how as soon as they started to sing together, something clicked, something worked. And he explains of how proud he is, even if Franco at first really criticized him. He's proud that Franco gave him his chance and that he allowed him to work so closely with him, and it's a beautiful memory that he kept until the end. There's one thing that I'd like to emphasize, it's the fact that as soon as Franco understood the potential of Madilu System, it's going to be something that he's going to use to the fullest of its potential. And so many successes of Congolese Rumba are naturally associated with Franco because he composed all these songs and he was the boss of Tout Puissant Qui Jazz. But in so many songs, it is the voice of Madilu that we hear. I'm going to put a couple of extracts so that you actually fully aware of this, but in Mario, in Mamou, you can hear the voice of Franco because obviously you can hear him singing afterwards. But the very first part and the majority of the song, the majority of the time, it is Madilu's voice that you hear. It is him that was the voice of so many of the songs that were successes of Congolese Rumba. And it is really important for me to emphasize this because naturally and obviously it is for legitimate reason that we associate Franco with all of that success, but it's also very important for me to emphasize the talent of interpreting song that Madilu System has been having, because it is also thanks to him that we can enjoy this beautiful song now.
Mobali na yo olobaki ngai nasalaka kisepe na libala na pino ai baro tango lingata mwesi barone azonga kasi matematikami lelo makambo lobi makambo na lemie lelo bitumba lobi konsona na lemie na boyi kobebisa ndoto na bataka na lemie
also explained that Franco wasn't always a very easy person to work with, because he said that there were sort of two sides of Franco. Sometimes Franco would be extremely generous. He would pay food and for everyone, for all the musicians. He would make lots of jokes, be very nice, very funny. But on the other side, whenever it came to work, he sort of became another person. And he said that because Franco was a workaholic, everything that mattered was work related. It was work, 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 work. The fact that it was like that, sometimes it would make an extra level of pressure for him and all the musicians, and Franco could become quite scary if things were not done the way he wanted them to be done. And he also explains that Franco could manipulate his musician with money, and Franco was never hiding money. He would keep the money very visible for everyone, but he would say, if today you don't do exactly as I'm telling you, I'm not giving you a single amount of money. You're not getting any money. And he wouldn't be shying away from the money. He could like be showing the notes everywhere and everyone would see the money. But at the same time, if someone wasn't doing exactly as he wanted him to do, well, they could get in trouble, but also they wouldn't get paid. So that was adding an extra layer of pressure whenever going on studio with him. And another thing is that even if sometimes he could be quite strict, on the other side, when his musicians were sort of sneaking around and do things that were not always really good, he would be very forgiveful about this. He would forgive them very easily. And Madilu actually gives an example that once Franco bought a car for his wife, and he told him to take the car and drive him all the way to his wife's house. But what Madilu did is that he took the car. Yes, he did. He drove it, but he didn't drove it to his wife's house. He drove it to his own uncle's house, and he hid the car over there. And Franco perfectly knew about it. And rather than telling him off and saying, "Bring me my car back," he just said, "You know what? Keep the car." And I'm just telling you this as a little example to say how sometimes they would have a very good bond, very good friendship, good relationship, but sometimes it could also add an extra layer of pressure for Franco, not for Franco, for Madilu. But at the end of the day, they had a very good relationship, a very good working relationship, and it is with the two of them that so many of the songs that we listen to nowadays are classic of Congolese Rumba. Unfortunately, after 9 years of great music success together, Franco will unfortunately passed away on the 12th of October 1989, which is going to be another step in the musical career of Madilu System.
Lelo mvula libwana se mabele ya ya ngana mawa hey ya ya otikanga na boloko ya ya otikanga na poale.
There is a first song that Madilu is going to compose and do right after Franco passed away, and that song is called Yaya. For those who are from Congo, from Brazzaville, Kinshasa, from Gabon or Central African Republic, you would know what Yaya means. Yaya means older brother or older sister, and it's something that we say for our sisters, brothers, cousins that are older than us out of respect. It's a way of being respectful for them. So for example, my older sister, I don't do it, but I'm supposed to call her Yaya Maylis. Her name is Maylis, and I'm supposed to call her Yaya Maylis. And in Africa, generally speaking, out of respect, when you're talking to someone who's close enough to your age, but you know that they're older than you, you call them Yaya. It's just to be respectful. And Madilu composed a song, and that song is called Yaya. And when he wrote that song, it was first to thank Franco for everything that he's done for him, but also to express all the suffering that he's feeling, because it was 9 years of successes together, but it was also 9 years of friendship. And he's expressing that now he misses his friend, basically, through that song that is called Yaya.
Yaya otikanga na boloko, Yaya otikanga na poale, Yaya otikanga na pasi mawa, mokile loba otikelanga succès, bana okende batwa mokili, bakoma komonelanga leki na yo Yaya.
After Franco's passing away, Madilu is going to stay in the Tout-Puissant OK Jazz Band for another 4 years, because, hey man, obviously, all the musicians from Tout-Puissant OK Jazz wanted to keep alive the memory of Franco as much as the musical legacy of the band Tout-Puissant OK Jazz, and they're going to be doing it for 4 years. But unfortunately, in 1993, there's going to be lots of issues with Franco's family in terms of copyright, lots of issues with Simaro Lutumba as well. So the Tout-Puissant OK Jazz Band is going to come to an end, basically. It's going to be the end of the band. But a year before that, in 1992, Simaro Lutumba and Madilu are going to compose a song together. A song that is, according to my personal opinion, one of the most beautiful songs of Congolese Rumba. I absolutely love that song, and I'm only putting it because I love it. It's a song that is called O Bénite, and honestly, it's just when he was saying how much his voice is made from up there from heaven. Honestly, when you hear that song, That's how it feels like to me. It's such a beautiful song, so I'm just going to put it so that you can listen to the song au vite.
Ngayo na komine kozonga asanduko ya makambo na moto nalongoli zuwa patience silie na pesa bino permission bobalana soki mwana alingi kosimba moto otika ye asimba mokola kozika koyeba lobi lisusu nakutaki yo na ye dessus et copina monoko ofungoli miso talingo kitiselongi oyo kisoni obandise kolela tika epokrezo zali na motema moko ndenge nini okolinga biso mibale okotianga wapi.
So in 1993 Simara Lutumba is going to create, at the end of all these issues with copyright and all this stuff happening with Franco's family, he's going to create another group with some musicians from Tout Puissant Que Jazz, and that band is called Bana Oke. But Madilu is not going to follow on that. He's going to create his own solo career at this specific moment. So in 1993, that's when his actual solo career is going to start. And the very first album that he's going to release is called Sans Commentaire. I'm going to put an extract in a second, but you have to know that when he released the album, he really positioned himself as the successor of Franco, as the little brother of Congolese Rumba.
Kutumbola ngai te. Ele kakanango, le grand ninja. Angayo, ngayo, ngayo, angayo, ngayo, mawa. Angayo, ngayo, ngayo, angayo, ngayo, mawa. Yaja boinga tinateo, nasengi e palato, nazangi sutena vinangaye, o abondele langayo. Écoutez-moi ça. Multi System. Okolo va bien. Mami wa bibia bia topota na yo banaye vraiment ndenge na lingaki
Oliko yimbe msika kapela mpia ya kafio pende kuko kanisa bongo Makiadi
nango banga lokona bete concert lobi wa ya mala mutele
ngana ngwa kapela
na kapela ngone mawate wa reza sutele lo me
kana bayi baluto
ya otikanga na boloko ya otikanga na bwale mokili loba otikelanga succès banda okende bayuma bakoma komonelanga leki na yo Franco.
The little extract that I've just put right there, I've put that extract on purpose. You have to know that on this video, when Madilu was singing, his throat was really sore. He just had a concert the day before and his throat was extremely sore. And I've put that extra on purpose just to show you how much his voice remained extremely beautiful even after the concert, and even if he didn't really feel like singing because he had a sore throat. But Madilu and that voice remained the voice of Congolese Rumba for 2 decades after 1993. For 2 decades, his music is going to be overwhelming the Congolese music scene and the African music scene, generally speaking, and he's going to become a real ambassador of Congolese Rumba because of his way of interpreting music. And between 1993 and 2007, he's going to release 8 albums solo and an album with different musicians, including Mangwana and Kester Emeneya and Koffi Olomide. And in my personal opinion, I do feel like his way of singing very much influenced, at least at the beginning of his career, the way of interpreting music for Koffi Olomide. And Madilu is going to remain someone extremely influential because he's really going to become the voice of Congolese Rumba. So I'm going to put a little bit of an extract of all these different albums that he's going to have over 2 decades of brilliant Congolese music.
Écoutez-moi ça. Madilu System. Okoloba bien. Mami wa bibia. Bia tobota na yo banaye. Vraiment ndenge na lingaki. Ezalaki mokano ya bankoko. À quoi tu penses? Destin comme un mabongo. Madilu System. Mobulu tete. Malembe. Firme avantage. Moli moyo memi anga ingoto. Motema. Menatika liya waselo mposo. Nazalaka balenda. Tika bango wakanda bonamba ya kalamula kokakate. Bamai na bino wana mike na kokakate. Bolingo somida. Lolango na epa basusue. Ngai kwekenge lokola liso. Olekanya we. Zongisa amonanga. Na congilate. C'est vrai. Okolo yoko zonga. Otia yango na micro. Somida. Yebisa bango. Basote liwala ngai. Ngana nzinzi. Balimba bomongana libanga kokatedi. Obela na ngai. Weya. Waka waka. Lamborghini. Teddy Kinsala. Le père de la nation et la rumba congolaise.
Ramsès, c'est moi.
Buto mobimanga na lalite o. Motema mpasi ezozela soko Ferre nalingaka. Azozonga te o. Baloba balembe. Colonel Van. Oh, mwana yo. Itokweleka, yeah. Oh, Général Patience. Mwindo ya ngolo Aminata Matata ya mwasina mobale sila tena mokili mama. Oh mama. Oh mama. Likambo nini nzambe osala biso mibali tosalela kabasi.
Madilu is also going to surround himself with an extremely talented musician, including Shiko Mawatu. And I'm going to put a little bit of an extract here because he done a couple of album solo as well, and he's a very, very talented guitar player. And I think I'm going to start doing videos of musicians, not singers, but just musicians, because how much we also owe to that type of artists who don't sing, but who still brought lots of their influences on what music is now.
Ngana mobali matata te matata na ndako. Etiki koseka ekomi ya kosilika. Etiki kofinga ekomi ya kosimba na nzoto. Pona likambo kaka ya bana muziki ya bio. Bebe mutuka kokota yangoyo.
He's going to surround himself about him and many other musicians who all going to put their talent and art for his actual music, and it is something really important that I also wanted to mention. But Madilu is just going to be a voice. He's going to be voice. He's going to be a talent. He also going to have his type of style, physical style with his clothes, which was very much recognizable. I remember when I was really small, I could see like the DVD and the CD with him, and I was like, that's Madilu. It's also part of the legacy that he left behind, and I'm going to talk about it with Papa Wemba as well, but it's really rooted as well in the approach of music and being on stage as well. And it is a voice, a golden voice that we've unfortunately don't have since 2007, because he passed away in 2007 because he had diabetes and lots of other health issues. But there's one thing to remember, and it is that even if he's no longer with us, we still listen to him almost every day. And a fantastic example of this is how one of his songs still has 11 million views on YouTube, and it was only released 3 years ago. And that song is
Yaja boinga tinateo na sengi palato nazangi sutena vinangae o abondelela ngayo mobile boinga na seandoto aloti nazweli embanda.
So I'm pleased to have shared the name of the golden voice, the God-given gift man who really brought so much to African music, to Congolese music, to Rumba music. And again, it is so important for me to share his name and remind everyone how much he is one of the most important voices of Congolese Rumba. So I'm pleased to have shared his name with you. I really hope that you've enjoyed that story. Obviously, there was many more things to say about this man, but I hope you've enjoyed this little summary of the brilliant things that Madilu left behind us. And I'll see you very soon.
Pesanga normande moni ndenge magari akomosala ngai potopoto akomokima ngai mpo nazangi normande mawa